Good morning, everybody.
There.
Hello.
Morning.
Good morning.
How's it going, everybody?
Going good.
Good. Good. All right. Welcome back to this. It's been a little bit since we've had this. But I'm glad to be back and on tax day, no less. It is the 15th this year, right? Because there have been years where it's like the 16th, the 17th, depending on when the 15th falls.
It's a birthday, so it is the 15th.
Okay.
It only changes when it falls on Patriots Day in Boston, in Massachusetts, or on a
Oh,
weekend.
right.
That's a holiday, so they can't have you can't file your taxes on Patriots Day, which is kind of ironic. Yeah,
Because the IRS is they're all
holiday.
they're all running the marathon.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's it. But today is just Wednesday, so it's the 15th.
Yeah, when is Patriots Day next week?
Patriots Day is the 17th. It's always
Patriots
the
Day
17th.
always the 17th because I know that like the Monday closest to Patriots Day or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The reason why I always am reminded of it is
Yeah.
that the Red Sox play a game that starts in the morning.
Okay. There you have you ever been to Fenway? You've been to
Once,
Fenway, right?
once,
It's a great stadium.
fantastic.
You can walk right in off the street. It's not like trying to get to Yankee Stadium, which is like, you know,
Yeah.
yeah. But
No,
it
no,
was
we
great.
took. I mean, we took the T. I mean,
Yeah,
we did.
sure. It's hard to be a Yankee fan in Boston, but you know, um, yeah. If the 15th falls on a if the 17th falls on a Saturday or Sunday, well, if the 15th falls on a Saturday,
Mhm.
then you don't file your taxes till Tuesday because Patriots Day is on Monday the
Right.
17th.
Right.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah, the strange things you know when you used to be a tax investigator. Yep.
There you are. There you are. So good. So good. Well, I'm reminded, of course, of the scene in the Marx Brothers classic Duck Soup,
Yeah.
where it's like where they go where somebody stands up at a government meeting and says, "I say we raise the tax," and Groucho responds, "I say we raise the carpet." And the guy says, "No, no, I still say we raise the tax." And then Groucho goes, "Yeah, I think it makes sense. That actually makes sense. You got to raise the tax before you can raise the carpet."
Raise the carpet?
And then later on,
Makes no sense.
it's like where are you from? I'm from taxes.
Yeah.
I'm from taxes.
Oh God.
It's like, oh, taxes. No, 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 taxes. I mean, like, money, dollars. That's where I'm
God.
from. That's where I'm from. Dollars, taxes.
Oh, oh, that's bad.
Yeah, yeah. So yes, I think the Marx Brothers were wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so um sorry, I'm just trying to get I know my camera is like teetering all over the place,
That's all
but
right.
Rabbi,
yeah.
I really, really enjoyed Monday night.
Great. Yeah,
Yeah,
and we
that's
can
something I would like to be involved with.
that's fantastic. So, Richard, why don't you would you be willing to kind of talk about your experience with that? I mean, I know that look, we will get to learning. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying
Mhm.
to punt on that, but I mean, I think that this was an important thing that we did. So, why don't you kind of talk about what your thoughts were?
Well, first of all, I was really proud that we had such a turnout from the synagogue. I think the count was almost 40.
Hmm.
And I've never seen such an effectively run meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a pleasure to be there. Um, Everything was on a timetable and they stuck to it.
Hmm.
I liked the fact that they presented two things. They talked about public transportation and they talked about homelessness. And they had initiatives for both of those. And they had the three of the four mayoral candidates were there and they brought them on stage and point blank asked them each, if you're elected mayor, will you back these initiatives? And they all said yes, which was great.
You know how much that's worth, right?
I'm sorry?
I said, you know how much that's worth if they said they would.
Well, at least they went on record as
That's true.
saying,
That's true.
and there was a young woman who spoke about not having a car, and people around me were weeping. I mean, she was just, it was so touching, and she talked about how difficult her life was when she has to rely on a bus, or if she has to just carry her laundry to a laundromat. I mean, but I was just so impressed with the work that they're doing. And then the guy who gave the benediction was amazing.
Well, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. No, I was very honored to I was honored to be able to do that. The you know, I mean, and part of what Justice Knox does, I mean, and you know, it's, I mean, these candidates, I mean, they met with all, I mean, they met with all the candidates. They
Mhm.
met with all these people beforehand. So it's not
Mhm.
like it was this
A surprise.
yeah, it's not like, you know, it's like, hey, what do you think of this? You know, I mean, like there was this idea of, okay, are we doing this? But like they uh, you know, I do know, so this model is replicated in other places in the country. And it's replicated in Charleston. I think the one in Charleston has been around longer than the one in Knoxville has. So I don't know where I don't know where this model started, but um, and what they do is uh, and like but I know of times where um, the where, you know, the elected official will, you know, be up there in front of everyone and they'll say, I can't commit to this, or I mean, where it's not necessarily a flat out no, but it's like, I'm not sure yet, I still need to figure out blah 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 blah, or
Yeah.
you know, or maybe it's something that, you know, I mean, you know, it's I do think that the asks, I mean, my opinion is that the asks they made in terms of combating homelessness and you know, transit issues, they were done very strategically, and I say this you know, in a full compliment. I mean, they were done very strategically. Like they asked for something that they felt pretty comfortable that they could get. You know, you have,
Realistic. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they did enough. They did their homework on what they could. You know, it's like, what can we do that is, and I think some of the asks were really about like, you know, can we study this more? Can we talk about this more? Can we, you know, um, so they like, I don't think any of this, like, I think only one of the questions had to do with, can you fund X to the current level or above? I think only one question was about that. Um, I imagine that if there were more questions about funding, then that might have been that, you know, there we could have had a little more of a pushback. I don't know, depending on who they're dealing with. Um, so, but you know, it feels good to have all your asks, you know, to get yeses across the board. My sense is that doesn't always happen.
Hmm. It was also, I felt, just completely nonpartisan. It wasn't political at all. It was about working for justice, working for a cause.
Right.
And
Right.
politics didn't, which was refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Very refreshing.
you know, I did, you know, I have the sense that there definitely was a progressive feel to it. And by progressive, I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to label that with one party or another, but like, in other words, a feeling of
Yeah.
that government, you know, that good government, that government, you know, is and can be part of the solution, which there are some political points of view that says that get government away from it. get government out of this. So there was an overall assumption of these are things in which government can be part of making things better. So, but it wasn't. I mean, to me though, the most striking thing, and I think they handled it beautifully. The most striking thing that happened was when they addressed the county mayoral candidate that wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Which one was that?
Henderson? Betsy
Yeah,
Oh,
Henderson?
Betsy Henderson. Yeah.
where they simply said, we sent her the same correspondence we sent the
Right.
other candidates. We know that she received said correspondence. We have not received a response. And they just left it at that.
It was just facts.
Yeah. Draw your own conclusions. But I
Right.
sat there going like, okay, well, she just here are 1,600 votes that she's not getting.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Mayor Kincannon, the mayor of Knoxville City, the city of Knoxville, she wasn't there, but she sent somebody. I mean, like there
Mm-hmm.
was an acknowledgement, there was a some gesture, and I think a positive one. So it's but one of the reasons why I wanted to make this a priority is because there are close to 30 churches involved,
Mhm.
Yes.
and Heskemuna is the one and only synagogue.
I was wondering about that.
At this moment, they're the one and only.
Huh? Interesting. Yeah,
We're the one. We're the one and only non-Christian. And look,
Oh,
and look, and it's great that the churches are involved. Like this isn't against.
absolutely.
This
Gotta
isn't
love that. Yeah.
a statement against them, but the idea of
Yeah.
to be able to say we're here too and we care also, and that I think was an important statement to make. And so, and this idea of, and what you touched upon, Richard, I think was very important, because I mean, I think that, I struggle sometimes with this idea that talking about politics is a third rail, that we can never speak of it in a synagogue. Now, I believe in the separation between church and state. I think that's a good thing. And goodness knows it is not for me. I mean, I believe strongly that I should not be endorsing candidates. I should not be, vote for this, vote for that. No, that's not my role, nor is it the synagogue's role. But the idea of a synagogue being a force for good, for a force for positive change, if you can do it in a nonpartisan way, like that's to me that's social action, right? I mean, that's the whole idea of having social action.
And being the only synagogue there, I thought they did a great job of. It wasn't a Christian service.
Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
It was really focused on justice and making a difference in these people's lives.
Well, and these are two issues, homelessness and transportation, that are key issues in Knoxville for the homeless population, and not only homeless population, but also people of lesser means who don't have amenities such as a car.
For people with disabilities or of a certain age where they no longer drive, and they brought up this whole issue.
Yeah, sorry, that's an issue though. Like I couldn't go to the Civic Coliseum for a meeting because I can't walk that. From the parking lot to in there and inside, it's way too much. So Alon asked me 2 years ago when he started this to come to the meetings. And yes, a few have been at Heska and Muna, but most of them are downtown and they are hard for me to get to because parking is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So even there is an issue, right? Just for the organizers.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right. And and it's also, I mean, this feeling of like, especially, in the fall when, when we met to when people, we had these like a parlor meeting and talked when we were trying to figure out what issues do we want to focus on this year. They have this sort of like this session where it's like, okay, hey, whatever's on your mind, jump in, whatever you're thinking about, with the recognition that, like, I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of things that I want, that, there's a bunch of things that we'd love to be better. I mean, there are so many different ways that we can, that we can improve our society, goodness knows, right? And so you look for stuff that is important and achievable, and try to make that, trying to make those calls on a group level. That's a hard thing, right? But to me, like, I feel like it's that organizations like this, it's like almost the only places where decisions aren't being made by the size of by the size of one's campaign contributions.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like one of the few places left where that's the case.
It was also helpful, I think, that they didn't take any feedback from the audience. I mean, they encouraged you to either be silent or to clap, but you couldn't field questions. That was already, the parameters were already set when the meeting began.
Right. And the idea of that is not, is not, because like I said, there were meetings leading up to,
Sure,
to all this, and the thought is like that was the time where, where voices can and should be heard, where the individual voices can and should be heard. The idea is that if you didn't structure it that way, it'd be a free for all.
right.
I mean, you can imagine, like, every you'd have literally hundreds of people there saying, I think, blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. We want that. But like,
You're late.
but you're late, and like, and you need to have them, like, not much is going to get done if you don't have some of those structures in place.
And I thought the fact that the meeting was structured, it ended on time. It said we're going to
Yes.
start at 7, we're going to end at 8:30. It ended at 8:30. I think that's an encouragement for people to attend again, to say, oh, well, this meeting just didn't go on for hours and hours and hours. It was very well managed.
Right. This feeling of we respect everyone's time. We respect we respect our own time. We respect the time of the people we're trying to get. We respect the public officials' time. It'd be nice, it'd be nice for all meetings to be in that vein. I will say, and this is not, this is not a, critique, but like, I mean, I think that, yeah, I mean, how many times do we have meetings in which, I feel like there's this running joke of like, could this have been handled in an email, right? If you see those, could this have been handled in an email? Did we really need to do 3,000, go through all this whole rigmarole to have a meeting about it? And if so, do we need a 3-hour meeting when it can be handled in an hour or whatever it is, right? So I think it's very instructive. So yeah, anyway, so I wanted to, any other thoughts about this? And I hope that, look, Tahila, I know that you've, I think, is this the first time you've been to this, or you've logged in a couple times before?
It's the first time I've been to the Psalms session.
Okay, this session. Okay, so
I've been here Sunday ones a couple of times.
well, first of all, welcome. Glad to have you. And second of all, yeah, I mean, look, this is the idea is to do learning, and what we generally do is we learn matters of Jewish law. That's sort of the basis that we go for. But I do allow for a certain amount of tangent, for a certain amount of tangential conversation when I feel like it's warranted, or when somebody else wants to really talk about something. So I do allow for that. So if you're wondering, like, what am I talking about? Okay, so that's so we begin in a lot of different ways. Are there other things, other like leftovers from Passover? I mean, not matzah, but like, or leftover thoughts about Passover, or anything else, because we haven't met since before Passover, so at this time, so I wanted to.
I would just like to say, I had personally was like, what are they going to do in the sanctuary? And my husband was like, why does everybody always have to make everything more fun? We loved it.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I think pretty much everybody did. All right, so there weren't a lot of kids. I understand that. I mean, I realized that it was sort of a struggle because you were, but it really was. We thought it was great. I mean, we enjoyed it. It was different. It did engage the children who were there. They were really into it.
I think it engaged everybody.
Yeah, it did.
It was a very user-friendly Seder.
It was.
Yeah, very, very. It felt very comfortable.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
and with the cups, I mean, okay, so that could have gone faster, but that's a minor detail. But I was thinking, what are they going to? We're going to hand out like cups with liquid in them, but it was fine. It was great. It worked.
And Janet, I really appreciate that you and your husband donated the soup tureens.
Oh, I appreciate
it.
You're welcome.
I
want people to stop thanking us, because we didn't need to be thanked. We fell in love with them at the schmooze, and everybody wanted them. So we said, okay, well,
yeah, they really are great,
because it just made it so much easier. But it's okay. It was our pleasure. Stop thanking us.
Well, okay. Well, fair enough.
You can never thank enough. Or too much.
Use them in good health. As my father would have said.
No, it's okay. I mean, like part of the inspiration behind having the sanctuary, and I don't remember how Rabbi Shush and I arrived at that. I don't remember how that but I remembered this this story from years ago, that a friend of mine growing up, her family, for Seders, they would spend like the family Seder, they would spend in the living room. And the idea that we are supposed to luxuriate during the Seder, we're supposed to the idea of reclining. I mean, these days when we talk about reclining, we talk about sticking a pillow on our chair and kind of leaning or whatever it is. But initially the idea of reclining was literally like like the ancient Greeks and Romans, where you're literally lying down on a couch or what have you. So they would set up pillows. They would set up like in their in the living room, and basically like everyone, it was like a slumber party almost. Everybody sort of laying down on sleeping bags and things like that while they went through the first half of the Seder. And okay, we can't really do that in a congregational Seder, but we can have something to kind of like to make it so that we're not just like suspended to a table for 2 hours. Not that would be the worst thing, but it's like, okay, we're moving, we're doing, we're moving around at least at some point. We're kind of, the idea was to make it a little less to make it a little less I don't know if this is the best word, stodgy.
Can't think of the word either. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean a little less formal, I guess. I mean, a little just so that you're um
Passive? No, that's not it. I don't know.
yeah, a little, yeah. Well, we're like, because I feel like with any sort of like big synagogue or like big Jewish ritual, the people who maybe are, I mean, look, obviously everyone, on this on this Zoom, I think, are people who are, have embraced the idea of seders and embraced the, et cetera. But for those who maybe haven't necessarily embraced it, or it's where it's the idea of, oh, we're going to be sitting for, an hour before we even eat anything more than a little piece of, parsley, it's like, what the heck is all, what's this? You know, it's like there was a story that I once heard about somebody who came to a Seder not knowing anything to expect. And it's like, okay, start with wine. All right, good start. Yeah, good start. Well, some wine. And then like a little green thing, yeah, and salt water, okay, yeah, right. And then it's like, okay, and then we're sitting and talking and sitting and talking. It's like, when are we going to get to when are we going to get to the food? And it's like, okay, now we're going to start eating the food. And we're starting with crackers, right? And then it's like, okay, and now we embellish the cracker with the hottest thing known to humankind. I mean, or at least that's what this person thought, right? And he and the story goes that this person it's like he thought it was peanut butter, like he sort of spread it
Oh my
on all,
God.
spread the horseradish all, he's just like, and suddenly it's like a three alarm fire in his mouth, and he runs out of the room, and he runs out of the house, and he's like, I can't, what am I still doing here, and and it's like, okay, if you'd only stayed for like 2 minutes more, you would have gotten the feast of your life. And so to me, I think that's always a question of, how do you do what you have to do leading up to the meal? How do we fulfill that responsibility to talk about and acknowledge enslavement to redemption? How do we go through that? Because, I mean, you could talk about it for days, right? One of the things in the Haggadah that we didn't talk about at the Congregational Seder, but it's in the standard Haggadah, is this little anecdote of these several rabbis who are a couple thousand years ago. They're in hiding from the Romans, and so they're in a cave, and they're talking about the Exodus. They're talking about the Exodus and enslavement and redemption and all these sorts of things, and they're literally talking all night, to the point where some of his students interrupt them and they say, "Hey, we just peeked outside the cave. The sun is coming up. We need to get a move on here. What are we doing?" So you could talk about it forever, right? I mean, like, these are big issues. How do you do that in a way that's going to keep people engaged, keep people interested, and not have them run away? To me, that's always like the grand challenge of it all. And I don't think it's necessarily like, okay, that everybody's got a time limit or whatever it is. I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily about the number of minutes that it takes, but it's a matter of like, what do we fill those minutes with, and how do we do it in a way so that the time passes. Not that time has to pass so quickly, but the time passes in a way where it's like, oh, okay, you know what, I wasn't bored, right? So I appreciate hearing that feedback.
I thought the Sea of Reeds parting and everybody getting to walk through was wonderful.
It was great. Watching Rabbi Shush marching at the head of her family.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was
She
I
looks
think,
like a prophetess with her turban and
yeah,
yeah, her
Yeah.
her posture and everything.
yeah,
Yeah, it was great.
exactly. And you know, we so it was something that we just kind of thought through, like that'd be kind of fun to do it that way. So um you know, actually, one idea, maybe we'll do this one year, where is like I was thinking of having like sort of two lines of people, and that we would like do the wave, like we would just sort of like, you know, like the waters, you know, and everything like
Right,
that.
yes.
And I'm like, that sounds a little too complicated to try to get everybody to do that. But like that was sort of the sense of it, because it's like, because the idea is that you're supposed to experience the story, you're supposed to experience the Exodus, um, but but we're not obviously going to make people actually experience slavery, right? I mean, that's not okay, right? So we had to come up with something else. You know, you have to come up with other sort of experiential ways. You how many of you have done the scallion thing? Okay, I'll explain. So you know a scallion, you know, like these like long,
Oh, yeah.
thin green, you
Green
know,
onions,
onions, right?
Yeah.
So I used to do this thing. This was a Sephardic custom that my family was introduced to, and we actually did this a few years we know growing up, where um, there's a Sephardic custom that during the singing of Dayenu, during the chorus, we go
Yeah.
Dayenu. During that time, everybody's given a scallion, and you tap the person to on you know, to one of your
Yeah.
sides,
Yeah.
like you're whipping them
With the scallion. Okay.
with the scallion. Now, you're not
Sometimes it's
now
more than a
you
tap.
sorry, what's that?
Sometimes it becomes more than a tap, especially with
Right.
the younger.
Yeah, which is sort of why we didn't do it. I mean, like, because I did really, like, we didn't do it because, like, I don't want people going, you know, I mean, like, you know, God forbid, right? You know, I didn't want it to be like too much.
Yeah.
But I remember then when I started to every year in college, I ran a Seder for my friends. And every year there were at least, you know, there were at least as many, if not more, non-Jews than Jews at this Seder. So it was, you know, it was a nice opportunity to kind of be ecumenical and to be able to, you know, teach and everything like that. And this one person, one of my friends, like, I explained what I was going to do, and this person's not Jewish, and he was like, "We're going to do what?" And then he got into it, and he literally he like ran around the table and went, not hard, but like with just like he was having so much fun with it. I'm like, okay, I guess this works, you know. So
I don't know, maybe next year, you know?
maybe next year.
We
Maybe
almost
next year.
forgot to put the scallions in the soup. We actually would have had scallions in the refrigerator. We
Okay.
didn't put them in the soup.
Okay.
But you know, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, and maybe it's like maybe like okay, if you don't want to be tapped on the shoulder, maybe you know, you tap the pew in front of you. I don't know. I mean, like, you know, whatever it is. Like, we'd figure out something. Maybe. Um, you know, because with Seder's, there are so many different ways you can go.
yeah.
And there are also so many variations on the ways that we teach and tell the story. Because, I mean, like, they keep coming out with different versions of the Haggadah. Why do they keep doing that?
Mm.
Well, partially because there are people who are interested in buying it. I mean, that they're interested in buying it, but why are they interested in buying it? Because they're always looking for a new way to make this ritual intriguing. And so, you have, I actually have it here. The baseball Haggadah.
Oh,
Somebody made a baseball Haggadah with, now it's not the full Haggadah text, but it has like some of the basics in it. And they said, all right, well, it's like we have 15 innings, like the 15 different parts of the parts of the Seder in the order of the Seder, and they do all these sorts of analogies. Um, uh, I think I still have the PDF somewhere. They did a Hamilton Haggadah where they, adapted some of the songs from Hamilton into ways of telling the story. And I mean, and like I mean, and those are just a couple of examples. I mean, there are countless different ways of finding ways to integrate um, uh, modern storytelling with this story.
I really appreciated that all the way through. I thought when I left, I thought these kids are going to remember this. They'll remember us for a long time because it was fun for them. It was educational, but it wasn't stodgy. It wasn't, and even at the meal, I mean, there was just like a very kid-friendly atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
The songs we sang, and I just think that's really important.
Thanks.
That they have a very positive thing that they'll look forward to it next year.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, and so I mean, those are always, and I mean, which I think brings up sort of a larger question of are there ways to take ritual and to make these rituals more accessible without sacrificing the integrity of said ritual, without either watering it down too much to where it's unrecognizable, or without changing the meaning of it. And this is something that I think of every once in a while. Okay, the song Adon Olam that we sing at the end of Saturday morning services, Okay, now everybody's got their favorite tune of Adon Olam, right? For me, the tune that I most remember is the one that I think that people find that some people find the most boring. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'Terem Kol Yisir Nivra. Okay, perfectly, it's a perfectly nice tune, but for some people, it's sort of like, okay, that one again. Okay, fine. Okay. There are tunes I like, kind of traditional tunes that I like a little better, but it's fine. That one's fine, right? So, and then but then I feel like that the opinion can be kind of split within sort of the I guess the active synagogue goers, whether to use other tunes for Adon Olam that go beyond what it would be generally considered a traditional tune. In other words, ones that take the tunes of popular music, right? But when I was a kid, the idea of let's do Adoniram tunes to the easiest ways of doing things, like became like this. It was like this, or not easiest, but like the most recognizable tunes became a thing. And so one of the ones that I learned when I was a kid was Yankee Doodle,
Mhm.
right? And Adono lama sher malach beterem kol yitzir nivra. But the thing is, it flows so well that you can do it incredibly fast.
Yeah, you
And
can.
so at Camp Ramah, that is the tune that all the kids want to do because it's like, okay, because it's fast. Like, I don't know, they do it as quickly as possible.
They have a lot of energy. Yeah.
Right. Right. And it's sort of like, and it's kind of, and so that after a while, I'm like, okay, fine. But then you began to learn about other ways of doing things where it can be very meaningful. One way that was introduced when I remember when Martin Luther King Day became a holiday.
Mhm.
And I remember being at synagogue, and the cantor for Adon Olam, that first Martin Luther King weekend, he went, Adon Olam asher malach beterem kol yetzir nivra. We shall overcome.
Overcome, yeah.
And I mean, people were really moved by that, right? Because it's like, okay, here we have this traditional tune. And then you'd hear about, synagogues where it's like, okay, to get the kids involved, let's this was one also from my youth. See if you can identify this one. Adon Olam asher malach beterem kol yitzir nivra lied nasa bechepso kol azai melech shemo nikra azai melech shemo nikra. I didn't sing it that great, obviously, but
Sound of Music?
Music of the Night from Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Okay.
Wrong.
So no, it's okay. So Phantom of the
Right.
Opera was
right.
like, I remember it opened like in the 1980s, and it was it's one of the biggest Broadway shows ever, right? And and then somebody's like, okay, well, I'm going to do On My Own from Les Miserables. I'm going to do just like obviously look the thing that people who know more about music than I do, explain that Adon Olam is in 4/4 time.
Yep.
And so since so many songs are in 4/4 time, you can use it for almost, it's almost countless ways. And so then people would say, wait a second, Adon Olam is a prayer? What doesn't, what does it have to do with Phantom of the Opera? It doesn't have anything to do with that. It doesn't have anything, and it's like, and then people would be like, Adon Olam is not about the civil rights movement. We're for the civil rights movement, but Adon Olam, it has nothing, it's not about that. Like, and people would there'd be a backlash against using those tunes.
We had our own problems. I've mentioned this before, that several rabbis back, we used to have young people who loved to do Rocky Top. And the rabbi was very unhappy with that. And so he told them, no, you can't do Rocket Top. But we still do, we still do do it once in a while. But that kind of muted the desire to do it when the rabbi got upset about it.
I would have no problem doing Adon Olam to Rocky Top. I don't feel like I know the song well enough to lead it.
Yeah, can you sing it? I have no idea what that is.
So
that is totally
I can't do it.
So because this is well, it's a theme song for the University of Tennessee,
yeah,
right?
it's for
yes.
And And
I don't know if it's for Tennessee or for UT. Is it? I don't know. Richard, do you know?
UT, I think.
Probably
Yeah.
UT, yeah.
and
Probably.
and then because Rocky Top refers to the mountains, right? I mean,
Right. Right.
so and
Rocky Top is in Chattanooga, actually.
is there is it? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, there's a place called Rocky Top in Chattanooga.
okay. So yeah, so to me, I think, look, Adonolum is, it's like, and then there would be people like, Adonolum is a prayer.
Right. Well, that's what
It's a
that rabbi
prayer,
said.
right? I mean, I know, maybe I'm sounding like I'm mocking it, but like, I'm not trying to mock it. I mean, like, it's really, um, I'm not trying to mock that attitude, but I think, when you incorporate when you incorporate, though you incorporate other tunes for your ritual, I mean, I think I recognize that it is kind of a slippery slope, right? I mean, if somebody were to suggest that, oh gosh, I'm gonna pick it's like, do you want to have a Friday night service that is like it's all Taylor Swift tunes, right? But by the way, I did a Friday night service in Charleston where all the tunes were Beatles songs. And I did it once, and typically on Friday nights in Charleston, I mean, if we got a minion, it'd be like, oh my gosh, we have a minion. Thank goodness we have a minion. I mean, like, this is before Zoom became like a real option. But we got 20 people that night. I mean, people were intrigued. They were intrigued, and like, and yeah, so I did like a menu. I'm like, okay, this is the tune I'm using for for this page, and that page I'm doing this one. This is the song I'm doing for this one, and and then people can and then of course, like I said, and when it comes to singing, I need your help. Get it? Help, right? No. And like, so the question then becomes, okay, if you're doing these prayers to Rocky Top, to the Beatles, to Take Me Out to the Ball Game, when you're doing those things, are you not thinking about the prayer anymore? Are you not thinking about the meaning of the prayer? My counter, or at least my, I don't know if one of my answers is, there are plenty of times when I'm using traditional melodies where I'm not necessarily thinking about the prayer, even when using traditional melodies.
Yeah.
I often like to say that prayer is a rhythm. It's, if all you're doing is focusing on the meaning of the words, but which you can do, which by the way you can do, and that's okay.
Right.
But if you're like, I want to focus on the words and the exact meaning of it, first of all, you'll be there all day. And again, if you want to do that, that's fine. But like, again, you do have to keep things moving. I feel like as a community, we have to keep things moving. And but I think also, just as importantly, I think that just saying the words to a particular prayer doesn't necessarily get us to achieve our goals, right? I mean, what is the goal of prayer? I think it is to appreciate that which we have been given and to explore our minds to what we wish. Music of all kinds can get you there.
Right.
There are eternal truths in many of the songs we like, and the songs we care about. Now, is it a slippery slope? It can be. Certain songs are more meaningful than others. I would say that singing "We Shall Overcome" is going to mean more than using, let's say, oh, I don't know, the one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater.
Which
Oh,
I
that's a
love.
great song. That's a great song.
I love it.
That's in two time. It wouldn't work anyway.
You wouldn't work anyway.
No.
Exactly.
Sorry.
I'm just trying to pick an
I know, I was
inoffensive,
kidding, I was
yeah, an
kidding.
inoffensive, goofy song. But yeah, but like, and like, if some people, I mean, because I've seen people who were like, okay, they were good, they were using like, like, okay, we're gonna do, never mind, we're gonna do stuff like, "Smells Like Teen Spirit" by Nirvana. It didn't work very well, first of all, and then also more importantly, like, what are you doing?
You're dealing
Like,
with the wrong age group here for that,
no, I hear you, but like, I mean, where they're just using
Yeah, I know.
they're using, so it is a slippery slope, but like, you don't want, okay, I guess to me, here's the demarcation. You don't want it to turn into parody. You don't want to make it so that your prayer experience just feels like a joke. But I feel like if the tune is accessible, it will eventually lead us to go back to the words themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you sing what melody you sing Adonai li velo ira to, because it's the words are meaningful no matter what tune you put to them.
Right.
So,
True.
and and Adon Olam is unusually adaptive to different melodies. I mean, it's the rhythm of the poem itself. It's very very adaptable to different tunes. So I mean, I love to do it during Passover to Adiyahu, and there are others who can use too from Passover. And but it's just it seems so natural. It seems to be fitting. No.
I think so. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we do need to reach for the tunes where it hopefully beautifies the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
And also contextualizes the moment.
Right.
And it's okay, like if we're thinking about Martin Luther King Day, if we're thinking about, like, to do it to, let's say, a patriotic song, at the 4th of July, right?
Right.
We are merging these different moments together.
Yeah.
We're merging the moment of these secular things, perhaps, on our mind with our religious commitments, and I think that's okay. So, like I said, we do a lot of different things during this hour. So I hope that this was good to talk through a number of things we've done lately in the community, and and talk about prayer. So I imagine that unless we have other things next week that people want to discuss, we'll go back into the text and we'll kind of pick up where we left off. But hopefully, but I appreciate everybody joining.
Yeah, and it was a nice transition from the holidays back to normality.
I feel like we needed it. I feel like it was good to have that. So okay, I will hope to see you next week on Zoom at this time, and we'll continue our learning in the many splendored ways.
Okay, Yasher Koach, Rabbi.
Thank
Good
you.
to hear.
Thank
All right,
you.
be well.